the murder of American-based Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Economic growth in the UK is my #1 mission.
Specifically, whether the de facto Saudi ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, ordered the killing.
The CIA has concluded with medium to high confidence that you personally targeted Khashoggi.
We have to win contracts, win investment around the world.
The CIA's conclusion that the Crown Prince ordered the assassination,
The murder of Jamal Khashoggi.
Saudi Arabia are key partners of ours, so I've been making the case that now's the time for further investment into our country.
Ladies and gents and everything in between, welcome to another episode of Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments with yours truly, me, myself and I, Aid Thompson. What are we on? We're on episode 333, I think. This one, all the threes today. But yeah, welcome. Pull up a pew. If it's your first time listening or watching here on YouTube, you're very welcome here. We talk about life, love, the universe, politics, news, dystopia, and all things awful, don't we? On this show. What should we talk about today? What are we going to do? What should we chat about, guys? So I had my dad down recently. He was down this last weekend. It's not abnormal around this time of year, right? You know, if you've got blended families or extended families, you know, you're going to stay with the in-laws at Christmas, and then invariably there's another half of the family who you can't get to see on that most special of days to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And so you make plans, don't you? You know, the weeks before. You arrange to go down and see the in-laws 2 weeks, 3 weeks before and exchange gifts, have a bit of a catch-up. And so this was that, right? So we had my dad down this last weekend. My dad is basically me, but 30 years older, okay? And he's better looking. I think that's, not really up for debate. But he's autistic as well. Like, it's not diagnosed. It's not like for certain. No doctors have said this, but he's definitely autistic. Which is a weird thing to have to grapple with. If you're not, or if you're one of his wives. I say wife, like one of his wives. Like, he doesn't have like 10 different. It's not sort of, he's not from somewhere a bit weird and cultural. He's not a bigamist. I just mean, over the years, along his life's history. And, he's a good-looking dude, right? This is what's weird about it. He's a good-looking guy who I think from women's perspective, from his wives' or girlfriends' perspectives over the years, he's a good-looking guy who then lures you in, right? And you're kind of then in a relationship with him until at one point you're like, wait, hang on a second. Why are there literally pages like notepads, collections of notepads, entirely populated with just names and dates and lists of the hits of the 1960s? Why are you doing this? My dad's like, this means something. Like, it means something to him because he's autistic, clearly, with his lists and his dates and he's absolutely that kind of guy. He's good looking, but definitely somewhere on the spectrum. You think if you're a woman and you got together with my dad, you think you're getting together with some hot young, you think you're getting Benjamin Braddock. But actually what you end up with is Rain Man. Little Dustin Hoffman reference for those of you out there who might appreciate it. 50-50, two different characters. My dad. I think that adequately describes my father's Riz levels before and inside his marriages. Marriages, plural. obviously. You know, like he's a nice guy, my dad, you know. He was down this weekend. He's a nice guy, but he's just like not really there a lot of the time. You know, when I'm talking to him, like I'm talking to you guys now, right? Admittedly, it's a one-way conversation, but, you know, we're both present in it. I'm speaking, you're listening. Were you here, I would be responding to you. It would be a transactional conversation. When I'm talking to my dad, he's not, I could just tell he's not really present, is a good way of describing it, I think. And it's not really his fault. Like, I don't think he can even really force himself to continue to pay attention to what you're saying for longer than like 5 or 10 seconds. He can't even force himself to do that and retain the information, but he can remember the first name and surname of everyone he ever went to school with. Like, it's really weird. Like he could tell, if he was here right now, he could tell you faultlessly who was at numbers 1, 2, and 3 in the top 40 charts in February of 1963. He could just do it like that. He wouldn't even have to think about it. And then here's the wild thing. It's like, whilst he's regaling you with this information about the top 10 in 1964, he would be unable to receive the information into his eyeballs to see that you are not interested in this information. Not even in the slightest are you engaged with this information that he's imparting to you. He's like, do you know Jerry and the Pacemakers had 5 hits in 1963 alone, and 4 of those were from the same EP? And you're like, oh my God! Amazing. He's like, yeah, it is actually really impressive, isn't it? Like, it is amazing, astonishing how disinterested in that I am. But it's nice, you know, he's nice. He's nice. It's okay. You know, a lot of it, I suspect, you know, now I'm old enough to know about these things, a lot of it is outside of his control, I think. So it's not a criticism when I talk about this stuff, you know, it's just what he's like. It's who he is, right? Never been any different, and he's not going to change now. You know, he's not going to alter his entire personality now, is he? You know, unless dementia robs him of it, like that might change, improve things a little bit. You know, like if this is your dad too, like maybe you're listening to this and you go, oh my God, that's the same as my dad, right? If this is your dad as well, you should just take strength in knowing that you just know who he is at this point. We know who these people are, you know, and it's fine. You just know how to handle them. It's just who they are. They're not going to change. All right? If you think they're going to change, like, are you kidding yourself? Really? Like, you really think that my dad at 78 years old is going to be like sitting and reflecting? Well, maybe phoning my children when they were 6 years old and spending 25 minutes straight talking to them about the ins and outs of BBC contracts, or the ups and downs of broadcast journalism. Maybe explaining that stuff endlessly to a 6-year-old over the phone. Maybe that wasn't, you know, on reflection in hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best way to bond when they were 6 years old. Maybe I could venture outside of the same 7 questions I recite every time I talk to them. The same 7 questions I ask and then never listen to the responses. So then blindly ask the same 7 questions again and again and again. Not even a week later, sometimes in the same conversation, I'll ask the same question that I would have known the answer to had I just listened earlier. That's not going to happen. That is not going to, they're not going to change now. They're not going to suddenly start reflecting. It's just who they are. So it's not a critique, more just an observation. And it's fine. You know, totally fine. It's just a way of me describing to you guys what my father is like. Like, it's hilarious, really, is what it is. Like, he's totally oblivious and yet not. Like, I can't really articulate it for you. Like, we'll get onto some politics in a minute. And then maybe if we've got time, then we'll do one of our weird news stories as per usual. But, just to finish this little bit off, if you like. Because honestly, at times it is hilarious. Like, it's unintentionally hilarious. Like how detached and how like he divorced my mum, right, when I was 4 years old, and then he moved away. Like, not round the corner. He moved an hour away. We were in Maidenhead in Berkshire, and he moved right out into Wiltshire. He moved an hour away, and then he complained. He's like, I just feel like I'm sort of losing touch with the. But like, you moved away. You fucking idiot. Like, you moved to fucking Wiltshire. The fuck is wrong with you? And that happened twice. And again, I'm not having a go. I'm not. This isn't a criticism. I'm just giving you a good example of how unintentionally hilarious my father is. Like, I'm not having a go. I'm just saying it is hilarity to observe this detachment, this what is it? It is a sort of a boomery dance on the spectrum. Because it happened twice. At the second time, he divorced his second wife. And he moved up to the arse end of Norfolk. Like, the bit that pokes out of Britain? Looks like a handbag, like a shoulder sort of barge coming out or something. He moved up to the top, the northernmost point of that, away from Berkshire. We're all the way down here, right? Like, over 2 hours away. And he's like, well, it'd be nice if you came up and visited. I feel a little bit cut off from everyone. And me and my brother are like, yeah, that tends to happen when you pack up all of your shit into a lorry and move 200 miles. You fucking idiot. What do we have to do to explain the mechanics and the responsibility of this to you? Like, have we got to weave it into the lyrics of a Mersey beat hit from the 60s for it to fucking sink in? Sing it and wobble our heads just to get it to be absorbed, for it to matter to you. Christ. But yeah, anyway. So he was down this weekend because, in spite of his kooks and being on the spectrum, he loves his grandkids, right? And he tries to get down when he can. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, hang on a second. He worked in broadcast journalism, Aid, and he did the news. And now here you are, obsessed with the news, and you are broadcasting. So maybe your issue here, Aid, is actually that you and your father are more similar than you would like. Maybe actually that is the root of your issue here today. But first off, there's no issue. There's no issues. Plural. They are not criticisms, as I've, come to pains to point out. He's a nice guy. He's just somewhere on the spectrum. And that's fine, but it is also objectively hilarious at times. And also, while we're on the subject, I can promise you that we are very different people. Like, we definitely have our differences, myself and my father. We're very, very different people in a lot of ways. How, Aid? Well, I'll tell you. Imaginary listener. So first, he's way more good at, like, music trivia than I am. Maybe that won't shock you because of all of, what I've just explained. I'm better with technology. He's hopeless with most of that kind of, like laptops, phones, whatever. He's sort of better with women than me. He's been more successful with women than, well, actually, I don't know. Has he though? Really? He's achieved getting married. He's done that 3 times. So does that mean he has a better hit rate with women, or that he's failed more? It's hard to say, isn't it? But anyway, yes, we do have our differences, like our sense of humours are different too. I suppose that's a big one. You know, like, what is he into? He's into Only Fools, Spike Milligan, Max Miller, whereas I am me, you know? Like, if you've tuned into enough of these podcast episodes, you will understand what kind of sense of humor I have, right? Like, you guys know the sort of stuff we joke about on here, and the fertile, if forlorn swamps from which we mine our comedy. Like, I was cracking a joke, right, the other night when he was down, and like, I think I'm a reasonably funny guy. You know, I know my way around a joke. You know, I know how to crack or write or weave jokes into things. The structures, the mechanics, what works, what probably won't work. You know, like, I don't think it's possible to do stand-up for 6 years and remain clueless with that sort of stuff. I don't think that's possible. Or maybe you can, but you just end up doing ukulele routines. Like, maybe that's the deal. Or Max Miller tributes. Anyway, but while he's down, right, differences in our sense of humour. While he's down, he's on the phone with his third wife. Okay? And they're catching up about his visit, and he's on the phone, and he's like, then we watched a couple of movies. Adrian, what was the films that we watched last night? And I'm like, Home Alone 2 for the kids, and then after that, Final Destination. And then he's like, oh yeah, and then he tells his wife on the phone, right? And then afterwards, after he's hung up, I'm like, yeah, it's quite weird, really, isn't it? Like, with those two films, like, purely by coincidence, we ended up watching two movies where they are both about really terrible in-air flight situations. And he's like, oh, yeah, I suppose we did. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe next time Hollywood could save us a couple of hours when they could amalgamate them into one movie where Kevin takes the wrong plane and then it bursts into flames. Like, even now it makes me laugh. And my dad's just like, what? And I still think this is hilarious. I'm like, you know, because it's the two films are both about the, you know, it's fun. It's like a link, the comedic link, Dad. My dad's like, right. Yeah, I just, I mean, it's a bit dark, to be honest. Then I'm like, yeah, I suppose it is. But, I mean, you did break up the family, Pops. I don't know if you were expecting an emotionally healthy sense of humor over here. Go fuck yourself. I mean, that is basically Baby Boomer 101 right there, isn't it? That dynamic. That, like, you raise sad kids and neglect them, and then you stand back, and 25 years later, you wonder why they're into angry music and dark fucking jokes. Christ. Anyway, let's try and talk about politics, shall we? Just for a little bit. So the big news the last few days has been that the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's trip to woo the Saudi crown prince, a guy called Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS. Keir Starmer's trip has been, like, he's gone over there. He's trying to get investment. He's trying to win contracts for UK PLC. A lot of people are saying that this is good, right? Because he's putting the economy first. You know, Saudi Arabia is where we get our oil, and also they like to buy a lot of defense, a lot of weapons. In some senses, they are the engine of our economy. And so if we can get a good deal on all of that, or expand from it, use it as the first footprint and grow the partnership or whatever. You know, if we partner with them on key infrastructure projects, obviously that is a good setup for Britain. So that's one perspective on it. Meanwhile, a lot of other people are saying that this is almost literally doing deals with the devil. Like, MBS was widely believed And depending on which agencies you get your news from or you believe after they do government reports or whatever, he was concluded to be likely the guy who personally ordered the Jamal Khashoggi hit. Okay, like, do you remember when they took him into a room in the Turkish embassy? And they murdered, dismembered him, and they apparently, allegedly, reportedly broadcast the whole thing over Skype back to Saudi Arabia, back to Riyadh, so this MBS guy could witness it personally. Remember all of that stuff? Really grisly. It was a brutal and barbaric attack on a Washington Post journalist who was at the time going through the processes to become an American citizen. And that's what they did to him. Okay? Don't forget that. The United States National Security Department people, they did their own report, their investigation, and they decided that it was probably, almost certainly ordered by MBS of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince. And now here, Sir Keir Starmer is shaking the butcherer's hand. That is what is happening, guys. You know, and he's doing press conferences, giving quotes out, giving, face to cam things to put on the Channel 4 news at night time or whatever. And we've got to do deals. We've got to get our growth back. Right, okay, but we've got to fire up the British economy. And sometimes that means difficult decisions. And as he's saying this, he's like shaking his hands, wringing off the blood. Not everything is perfect. It's not a perfect world, but sometimes it's a balancing act. He's signing these trade deals while collecting all the other Saudi dissidents that live in London, putting them on a conveyor belt back to the Riyadh abattoir. And people of sane mind are like witnessing this and going like, yeah, I mean, but Sakir. He's like, what is it, Aid? What's with all the criticism? We've got to get growth back. We've got to get the economy moving again, Aid. And you're like, yes, but wouldn't it just be easier to rejoin the single market? Because that's what this all comes down to. That you want to get growth back. Wouldn't it, why have you got to shake hands with this butcherer? Why have you got to entertain the idea of placating the sensibilities of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement? Not everything is perfect, eh? Sometimes it's a balancing act. Sometimes you need to negotiate because it's not a perfect world. Just dripping with blood. Just to avoid the possibility of even entertaining rejoining the single market. Could we rejoin the single market, Sakir? He's like, you're gonna summon the Farage. That is what it is, isn't it? That is what, if you even say single market, if you even say Brexit, it's like Beetlejuice. It's like they're worried if you say these words, it'll open the gates to hell and Nigel Farage will appear in a black and white Michael Keaton suit. Wouldn't it just be easier, Sakir, to rejoin the single market? Out comes some sort of supernatural revoltigeist or something like. Oh, man. Allow his mischief to unfurl once more. That is how terrified they are of anybody saying it. Anyone saying Brexit or the single market. So yeah, basically we won't rejoin the EU, guys, because it's politically too toxic for the Labour Party. That's what's going on at the moment. And so to plug the gap in our desperation for growth, we are going to fly around the world desperate for backfill. And all the while pretending we aren't soiling our reputation by doing deals with an orange rapist and the butcherer who murdered the Washington Post journalist. That is what is happening. We're shaking hands and making plans with murderers and rapists to avoid, to circumvent, to dodge the unacceptable state of allowing some Europeans some say on how we make all Europeans' laws fairer. But that is honestly what all of this comes down to. Is we didn't like Brussels. telling us to make things like, equality or tax or immigration ledge fairer. And we didn't like it so much that we're willing to get into bed with psychopaths to avoid those niceties at all costs, just to make a point of it. Like we just don't want the nice stuff, the cuddly liberal European We want the psychopaths, Bitches like a bad boy. And apparently, so do we. Rape, murder is fine. It's fine, guys. Just please, I'm begging you, don't regulate my food to a higher standard or protect people from discrimination. Don't do that. Like, I know it's a bit dark, and you can thank my father for that. But honestly, if rape and persecution and murder are fine now, right? Trading partners wise, if that's all dandy for us, how long before Britain gets confused and certifies itself part of the axis of evil? Because that is where we're headed. Dear listeners, standards have fallen so far now, haven't they? When you think of where things used to be politically, geopolitically, societally, standards are just through the floor. I don't know if did you guys see the story, the development about Jay-Z, very famous rapper, and he's been implicated in a rape case now. There's these allegations flying around, which of course he denies. And this is sort of off the back of the Diddy cases, right? You will definitely be aware of the P. Diddy allegations, the multitude of cases that he's now engulfed in. But this Jay-Z thing, it's something about an MTV after party, and apparently it also involves Diddy. And historically, these sorts of allegations would be very serious for somebody like that, wouldn't they? There's no telling at this time what the implications will be for Jay-Z's career. Maybe he will have to liquidate his stock and his investments to pay for a dream team of lawyers a la O.J. Simpson. Maybe he'll be erased from music history. Maybe Spotify will remove him, the cancel R. Kelly or mute R. Kelly campaign, that sort of thing. On the other hand, maybe he'll go on to become the president of the United States. I mean, you just don't know anymore. Why should Jay-Z be precluded from political ambition when Donald Trump has been just waved through for basically the same thing? How are you going to tell Jay-Z that it's over for you? It's over for you, mate. Sorry, Hove. Sorry, Jay. It's over for you. You are cancelled. How are you going to tell him that when you gleefully led Donny through a mosh pit of scandals by his dick and you tour guided him directly back into the White House? Who is seriously going to tell Jay-Z that it's over for him? That this sort of allegation means his career is toast? That ship has sailed. There is no accountability anymore. Those days are done. You can murder a journalist live on fucking Zoom, and 4 years later, we'll be shaking your hand and smiling for pictures with you. But this is what makes me laugh, man, about the Luigi Mangione. I don't think it's possible to say his name and not say it in a... It's the most Italian name ever. Luigi Mangione. But this is what makes me laugh about his situation. It's here you have this kid who appears to have, or who is alleged to have, murdered that CEO, Brian Thompson, in cold blood, right? Allegedly. Must emphasize that. And the Trump right, the MAGA right, are acting like they should give him the chair, aren't they? They're I'm glad the feds caught him. The left take it too far, man. The left take it too far. The violent, uncivilized left. Everyone's aren't you lot the lot that were laughing about Pelosi's husband getting crowbarred in the head? The left take it too far when they get violent and uncivilized. This was a father. He was a father and a husband. And I'm a Christian. But oh God, oh Lord, there is no room for forgiveness with this devil child. Not even at Christmas, son. There is no way back for him. Fry that motherfucker. I don't care if it says thou shalt not kill. It also says eye for an eye. So kill him. Burn him for deigning to attack that most precious and protective of minorities, the billionaires. I'm glad the feds got him. And everyone with a memory that can span back longer than like a week is like, are the feds? Are the FBI not one of your, like, you know, 3-letter agencies? Are they not like part of the deep state? I'm sure they were like 5 weeks ago. They were part of the problem. Like, it's not a weaponized Justice Department anymore. When did it stop? Like, if I was Mangione, okay, here's what I would do. I reckon I'd play them at their own game, you know? I reckon I'd do an interview with Fox News or like Breitbart, whatever. Like, I would tell them that it's all trumped up charges. It's a witch hunt. It's a kangaroo court. They'd be like, are you sure you're not just trying to evade justice? I mean, it sounds a bit far-fetched. And you'd be like, uh-huh. No, it's totally a witch hunt. It's all trumped up charges. They're just trying to bring me down is what they're doing. Or like, if I was Mangione, I would run for president. I'd just start some sort of, you know, GoFundMe to fund my presidential run for 2028. You know, run for president from behind bars so my convictions get quashed or dodged or delayed or deposed or whatever. Now that is what he should do. He should play them at their own game. That's what I would do if I was Mangione. Like, can you imagine? Just consider this for a minute. Can you imagine the anger from the MAGA right if he tried to do that? Like, half because, you know, it's pre-existing anger, isn't it? Because obviously murder is hugely upsetting. But also half, you know, from knowing that they would be impotent at being able to fight it, wouldn't they? That sort of defense. They go on Newsmax and be like, yeah, it's trumped up charges. It's a kangaroo court. And they'd be like, he said what? Like, he said it's all a conspiracy to take him down? Oh, God damn it. I don't like the kid, but he's talking a lot of sense. I don't know. I'd like to take it a step too far, you know. I'd have Biden pardon him. I'd have Joe Biden pardon Luigi Mangione. Oh, my Lord. Just to see the Civil War riots kick off. Oh, we have fun, don't we? Yes, it's dark. Yes, it's a dark sense of humour, but, you know, I covered that at the beginning. Shall I wrap up here? I'll just quickly wrap up, guys. Thank you so much once again for tuning into the pod. If you are not on the Patreon yet, do give it some love. There should be a link in the description below. That's whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you are good enough to tune in here on YouTube. It starts at £3 a month, then it goes up to like 5, and then 10. If you're really keen, if you love the show, if you love me, guys, there is I think it's a £50 tier. So yeah, you can jump on that. You can really show some love. And also, if you're not in a position to, to add to your subscriptions, which who is when the economy's like this? Energy bills going up again, by the way. Just throwing that out there. If you don't want to add to your subscriptions, then there is a super thanks feature on YouTube. You can just drop me a little tip in my sort of metaphorical tip cup for this twice a week little lap dance that I'm basically doing for you. Need a play on words, don't we? Something to do with like OnlyFans but it's for like politics and dystopia, like dystopia fan, like something along those lines. But it's not working. The joke cogs aren't there today. But that's what we need. That's basically what I'm doing for you, is a little titty dance, isn't it? A dystopian titty dance. So yeah, if you're in a position to and you would like to show some gratitude, then there is always that too. That's it from me. I'll be back tomorrow night, so Friday night. This episode has taken me forever to put together and then put out because I've had some stuff going on with the family this week. So apologies for the slight delay. I'll be back Friday night, 7:30 for the live show, guys. Every week, 7:30, live on YouTube. We get the live chat going and all that. Failing that, I'll be back on Monday with another alternative paper review. Until next time, keep it booch, keep it binfluencer, and we are out this motherfucker.
Just another video with Adrian.